Family law and criminal cases. This is Marc Lopez, and I have a special friend, Tara Rabiola. Tara does family law, and so I'm frequently sending my clients who have family law issues to Tara. And one of the big questions I always get is like, Marc, I'm going through a divorce, going through a custody issue. How's that going to affect my criminal case? Well, I'm going to tell you, it's not. Family law has almost zero effect on criminal cases, but from conversations with Tara and other family law attorneys, the opposite is not true. So, Tara, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm Tara Rabiola. I am the owner and sole practitioner at Rabiola Law, where I do focus my practice in family law. That is all we do there, all day, every day. I work in Marion County as well as the surrounding counties. I will go anywhere in Indiana, but I do focus my practice in Marion County and surrounding areas. And anytime Marc has questions for me about family law, he knows who to call. And anytime I've got questions about criminal law, I know who to call.
It is a wonderful relationship because literally my clients will be asking me 1,000 questions about family law. I'm like, you have to call Tara. And the most amazing part is when I send clients to her, when I follow up with them, hey, how is it going with the family law case? I'm not trying to be involved. They always say amazing things about her. And so I appreciate taking care of my people. I just want to ask you, so if someone is getting a divorce and there's children involved or not children involved, how does a criminal case affect that?
Sure. So when there are not children involved, generally a criminal case is not going to affect your divorce all that much. If there's some financial issues that pop up as a result of your criminal case, that may come into play, such as if we're dissipating your assets as a result of your criminal activity, things of that nature, that may become relevant in your divorce and will become a part of what the judge looks at when dividing your marital estate. But outside of that, if there aren't kids involved, your criminal case isn't going to be overly relevant. The big issue for you, if you're going through a divorce and a criminal case pops up, is if there are children involved.
Tell me about that. So kids are involved, and what is the primary purpose of family courts when their kids are involved?
The most simple way to say it is we're always looking at the best interest of the children. The courts, I tell people, they don't really care about mom and they don't really care about dad's feelings. They care about the best interest of the children. And so if there is a criminal case involved that could affect the best interest of the children, that's going to become a problem for the person with that criminal case. If the criminal case is a violent crime, if it is drug or alcohol related, if it would be anything that would affect the children's safety, that is definitely going to come into play. That can be used in court as a reason that that parent shouldn't have custody, as a reason that parent should only have supervised parenting time or otherwise limited parenting time. Also, if that parent is going to be going to jail, they obviously will not be around to provide care for the children, and that is also going to affect the custody or parenting time of the child.
Without getting into the specifics of the clients, what are some real-life examples you have seen as a family law attorney where someone being arrested of a specific crime has negatively affected their divorce case?
Sure.
Or custody case?
So a big one would be a DUI. If someone is arrested for a DUI and if they have the children with them, that is certainly going to be a big problem for them. In fact, at that point, you may run into the risk of DCS getting involved, which is a whole nother issue.
But it's not a fun issue.
No, it is not. But from a custody standpoint, that is going to be piece of evidence number one for the other parent to say, this parent is a danger to the child. And if it is proven that a parent is a danger to the child, you're looking at supervised parenting time or otherwise extremely restricted parenting time with your child, and you certainly aren't going to have a case for custody at that point. However, if a parent gets a DUI when the child is not with them, maybe they're with the other parent and that was the plan for the weekend, it still isn't great. As a family law attorney, it's not something we want to hear. It's not something we want to deal with, but it is something we can at least handle a little differently because you weren't endangering the child. The child was nowhere to be found. They were safely with the other parent per the parenting plan. That being said, it certainly can still come into play questioning your decision making as a parent and keeping the best interest of the children in mind.
So bottom line for that is don't drive with your kids in the car after drinking. I mean,
yes, that would be, if nothing else that you take from this video, that would be what to take from this video.
And I'm a huge fan of drinking responsibly and living a normal life, including driving. But having a child in the car is a felony if the officer thinks you're intoxicated. Marion County and surrounding counties, frequently DCS does get involved, and it makes things extremely complicated. And I know that when you have to deal with those cases, those are not necessarily fun things because you have a negative bargaining position. And you never want to be negative. It's a terrible spot to be in. What about domestic violence? two people are married, and then there's incident of domestic violence, and they decide to part ways. What is an arrest for domestic violence? How does that affect the family law proceedings?
So again, similar to the discussion with the drinking and driving, a lot of it will depend on the involvement of the children in these incidences. If this domestic violence is taking place in the home when the children are there, things the children have witnessed, again, you're running into getting DCS involved, which, as we said before, is not fun. But we're also looking at the mental well-being and safety of the children who have just witnessed one parent hurting their other parent. This is also going to be something that could likely result in you getting supervised parenting time, extremely restricted parenting time, or a period of no parenting time at all. If it is a situation where an example would be the kids are with grandma and grandpa for the weekend, and mom and dad have gone out, had too much drink, get home, get in a fight, police get called, and there's some charges that come then. This, again, isn't going to be as big of an issue as if this was a regular occurrence that was happening when the children were in the home. Like I said before, as a family law attorney, it's not something I want to hear. It's not something that's fun to deal with, but it can be presented in a way that this was a one-time issue. The kids were not there. This was circumstantial with what was going on that day. The parties have now separated. They are not interacting, so we aren't worried about this becoming a habit or an issue. That being said, it still is going to be used by the parent who was not the offender as an example of why the parent who was the offender is not a safe person to be providing care for the children.
So just hearing that, it reinforces so many things that I know. And, if you and a spouse or any person involved in a romantic relationship get into a fight, that's domestic battery. It starts as a misdemeanor. But even if the touching is slight, if children are present, it's automatically a felony. And then again, DCS is going to get involved, and those are all just unpleasant things. Don't fight with people, don't hit people. Definitely don't hit anybody when kids are around. I mean, it's a no-brainer right there. When there's a divorce case pending, a family law case pending, and then there's incidents of domestic violence, there's protective orders going back and forth, the parties still have to work on their divorce. But how does a protective order make your job harder or make it easier? Tell me what's going on with that.
Sure. When there's a protective order in place, it all but stops any co-parenting that can take place. We are always trying to encourage a positive co-parenting relationship. That's what's best for the children. It makes the parents' lives easier. However, if the parents are not allowed to communicate, all of a sudden co-parenting all but stops. There are many times where there will be protective orders in place because, again, it was an example of where there were issues between the parents. The children weren't present. It doesn't involve the kids. And so maybe the parenting time isn't affected, but now we have this issue where the parents can't speak with one another to arrange drop-offs or things like that. So there's different ways we handle that. Sometimes just the attorneys kind of manage everything, which is going to cost you more money because instead of being able to pick up the phone and call the other parent, you have to call your attorney has to call their attorney, and so on and so forth. Another option that we see, depending on the specific situation, is a protective order will get entered. We will then have a hearing about it, and the court will enter some exceptions or specific provisions in that protective order, such as the parties can interact in a police station parking lot solely for the point of drop-off, or the parties are permitted to text one another regarding child-related matters only. And so that allows the parents to continue co-parenting at a very minimal level, but at least to the point that they can continue to parent their children without the need of getting all of these other people involved. So a lot of times it just depends on how extreme of a situation it is and how willing the parties are to acknowledge that this is an issue between mom and dad, that mom and dad are still good parents, they're just not good partners.
I like that. Yeah, that's good.
And that's
positivity.
And that is what we try to really focus on, that, because a lot of time if you're getting a divorce, it's because you aren't good partners. It's because you can't be together. And if we can get you apart, you can both be better people and in turn be better parents.
It's positive. I like that. If someone wanted to contact you, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
You can either contact the office at 317-932-0633, or you can contact via email, which is info@rabiola, which is R-A-B as in boy, I-O-L-A law.com. I do offer free 30-minute phone consultations. During that, we can briefly discuss your case, the divorce process in general, the custody process in general, whatever you have going on, and then from there decide if you would like to move forward with me as your attorney. During that call, we also discuss our payment options. We do have several different payment options for people.
Hey, thank you for coming today. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Remember, always plead the fifth.